All right. Hey guys, this is Chris Elston with another interview I'm doing. This time with a very talented uh resident that lives not that far from me in RVA. Uh Andrew is the creator and he runs the channel on a YouTube called High Strange TV. He's got a lot of cool shorts on there, and we're gonna go over all that. So, Andrew, you want to just introduce yourself and tell us how you got in this?
Yeah, hey, I'm Drew Hyde. I've been a filmmaker for, I guess, like 10 years or so. Launched this YouTube channel 3 or 4 years ago now. I'm actually not sure, but been making short horror films specifically and entirely short horror films. And recently the channel's kind of taken off in a way that is like really amazing for myself and my girlfriend Taylor, who's my producing partner and also in all of the shorts we've made so far. And so we've been able to kind of expand the scale of what we're working on. But yeah, just love horror movies, love movies in general. Been a huge fan forever. So yeah, and happy to be here, Chris.
Awesome. Yeah. And speaking of like his YouTube channel, like he's had this thing for about 2 years and he's doing very well. It has over 5,000 subscribers and his videos have reached up to 300,000 views per, and that's just incredible for for short films on YouTube with so much content out there. So he's really making stuff that's standing out. Um, so you talked a little bit about you like movies in general, like horror specifically. What got you into horror opposed to doing other genres?
Well, when it came to making horror, it was a little bit of a longer journey. But like when I first started enjoying horror movies, it was actually pretty late. I know a lot of horror fans who have just always been into it since they were a kid. I was actually like terrified of horror movies when I was a kid until I was about 12. And then my dad and I watched The Shining, The Thing, and Alien all in the same summer.
Nice.
And that just like, I think something about especially Alien and The Thing being sci-fi, I was like a little easier. It was easier for me to click into that.
Right.
And then the horror was kind of like, supplementary thing that like shot into my brain watching those movies. And then The Shining, I was getting really into kind of like more artistic auteur driven movies. And watching that, I was like, oh, this is somebody doing something like totally their own thing. Stanley Kubrick just doing totally his own thing, filmmaking wise, in a horror context. And I hadn't seen that before. And then before that, I had seen like The Ring and stuff like that, but nothing like really totemic in the horror genre.
Right.
So that really got me into it. As far as making horror films, it started after I graduated college. We made our first little horror thing. And a big influence was the short Lights Out, which we talked about a little bit before we started streaming.
Yeah.
By David F. Sandberg. It was like, that was this huge viral moment. If you weren't there at the time, it was like
I
everywhere,
remember.
like all over Reddit. Like, dude blew up and then got a contract with Warner Brothers making all these movies and stuff. So that was super inspirational. And he did it all himself with his wife at the time. So I was like looking at Taylor and we're like, we can do stuff like that. And went on from there.
That's awesome, man. The fact that you saw The Shining, 12 years old, still that's fairly young to be watching horror movies too. And The Shining is a very, to me, it's The Shining that's a very high concept, very intelligent movie. And I just seeing the short you've made, I can see how that stuck with you and how you've kind of put that in your films now. Because a lot of your films now that I've seen have that psychological slow build up. You got to stick with it. It takes time to get, but along the whole narrative, it's unsettling. Something's off. And again, that's a very Kubrick thing. So I appreciate that. And that's cool.
Yeah, I think that movie's just so unbelievably influential, and I think you can't really make like a haunting movie, a haunted house, or a ghost movie without hitting on the same things that he hit on back in 1980. Like
I agree.
It's just all there in that movie. Every haunted house movie since then is indebted to it.
It's very layered. So it's not just one thing; it's several things, and it's like one of those. Every time you go back, you can always see something like a visual cue he put in. Oh, I didn't notice that before. Very smart. What I'm saying? It's very well, produced and directed.
Yeah, and there's like the fun angle of it with just like there's a couple jump scares in that movie, and a lot of people, look down on like that kind of filmmaking, that
Right.
jumpy kind of filmmaking. But there's jump scares in Shining, there's jump scares in Alien and stuff, and um, below or just below that layer is this like weird puzzle narrative basically underneath of The Shining. So you have the psychodrama of Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall. Then you have the haunted house, and then there's like all this weird stuff you discover, like with how they design the sets and things, and there's weird things that Kubrick placed in the background. And people are like, "Is it about the genocide of the Native Americans?" There's all these like different layers you can pull out of this out of that movie that I really love, and those have continued to be some of my favorite movies. It's kind of like puzzle movies, you might say, like Mulholland Drive and stuff like that.
Nice. Are you a fan of Mike Flanagan?
I am. Yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's doing. I mean, he's really made a name for himself, man. Especially with the shows for Netflix, And I know, like for hardcore horror fans, that may not be their cup of tea, but as far as like his storytelling has gotten so good over the years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's definitely coming at it from a place of drama first, and then scares second. Even though like there's some amazing scares in those shows, but his series, shoot, what's it called? The vampire one was incredible. Midnight Mass.
Yeah, Midnight Mass. Yeah, that one's pretty good.
Devastating. Like there's a moment at the end of that. If people haven't seen it, I won't spoil it. But there's a moment at the end that's just two characters. That's like this huge moment of existential dread that just like, oh man, really, I almost cried watching that show. I may have cried. I don't know.
Yeah, he gets, he's good with like, again, putting the drama together with the horror. Some directors have a hard time, balancing the two out. One usually, leans one way or the other real heavy. But I guess that's why he does the shows. He has more time to kind of spread it out, instead of trying to cram it all into like a 2-hour thing or whatever.
Yeah, and I'd love to see him go back to features again because, I saw Oculus in theaters back when it came out, and I was like, I saw that twice. I love that movie so much, and it has that Shining element of like, insanity. Like, is this actually happening? Is this all in my head, or is this an actual haunting? That kind of like, I don't know, that sort of stuff really resonates with me too, where it's like, you have the literal scares of like a haunted house movie, but you're also questioning the whole time, like, is this real? I happen to love to land on the side of, yes, the ghosts are real, but there's also this psychological element to it,
Yeah, right. I agree with you on that. So,
but that said, I also love just like some balls to the wall B-movie horror as well.
Yeah, that's kind of our man. What I'm saying? I like all horror, but I've always had a soft spot for like the more, I don't want to say slapstick, but the more like, monster stuff, like, Evil Dead and stuff, Aliens and The Thing, John Carpenter, he was always be my biggest influence. And that's my guy as far as like horror goes.
Oh yeah. Agreed.
But, so you talked about, what got you into horror, and, we talked about Lights Out and everything, and going to your page. So High Strange TV, and for everybody who is watching or may watch this, there's a link in the comments in the description to go to his site. I highly recommend you guys check it out because he has a lot of cool stuff on there. And I would definitely start from the very first one. He released and it's working way up because you'll see the change and like the direction he's going. But it's fun though. It's cool to see you start with the more traditional jump scares type thing, and he did it very well. And we talked earlier how it was just you and your fiance who did that, right? And that was really, I love that stuff, man. I love when it's just like a very small bare bone crew and you guys can still create something that's very effective.
Yeah. So the very first one we did is called The Conduit, and we shot that out when we lived out just outside of LA in Glendale, California, in our like bungalow apartment out there. And we actually came at that production from a more traditional angle. So I actually did have a small crew of people, just friends of mine, working on it. I was operating the camera. I was, directing as well. And then like basically lighting the whole thing too. But I had, a few people like helping out, holding the boom and moving lights around and stuff like that. Doing kind of a more film school sort of production on that. it took forever. It took so long to shoot that. And so like it was a lot of reshooting and like going back and being like, oh man, this is so terrible. The first time we shot the end sequence of that, where a ghost appears like kind of in the kitchen, I was playing the ghost and I had lines as the ghost. I was saying lines and I was like, after like I came out and said my first line, everybody laughed. And I was like, all right, well, maybe ghosts shouldn't talk. So that changed that and stuff. Like things like that, like totally changed about it. But yeah, I do think that it's got some cool stuff in it. I did like kind of a John Carpenter synth score for it.
Yeah, I love
which
that.
I love and stuff. Yeah, I love that stuff. And then going from there, yeah, we kind of scaled everything back because that took so long. So we did a couple really shorts, and then just kind of like focused on one thing at a time. So all those really shorts, there's like almost no dialogue. There's really no story. It's kind of that lights out thing where it's just like a setup and then a scare. And then with our more recent short called Lonely Night, the focus was like creating a real character for Taylor to play. So that's a short where she plays a character who stood up for a date, basically, and then goes to a dowsing pendulum, which is this kind of tool of the occult or Wicca or witchcraft or really just like mind metaphysics or something like that. It's kind of like tarot, basically, to ask questions of the spirit realm or whatever. And it turns out she's not alone. There's a spirit there with her. So we got to create a good little character, a good scene for her to do where it gets a lot more dramatic. And then that's kind of been the focus of our films going forward. But we had kind of a major change after that when we made the first Doors.
Yeah, and that one it really took off. So I wanted to ask you about that. Because again, all your shorts did very well as far as like, getting views and engagement and stuff. That they were very successful. But it seemed like when you got to Doors, it just really took off.
Yeah.
Now, was that, in your opinion, because of just, again, analog horror is this new subgenre, especially on YouTube, that's very popular right now. Did you hit it? Did the film, did it get released around that time, or was it something else behind that? Why do you think, now your short films are getting even bigger?
Yeah, so I do think it is a lot of luck about the timing of it. Basically, well, so our channel was growing. Like we were probably at like 500, 600 subscribers at the time that we put out Doors. Maybe a little higher than that. But we kept getting like more and more views with each one, basically. So,
right.
But then Doors, yeah, I had watched a little bit of analog horror back in like 2015 or 16 when it really first started, when it wasn't called that. It wasn't called analog horror. There wasn't really a subgenre or subculture around it or anything. And there's just a few of these weirdo viral kind of sequences put together by a few different people. Then I saw it kind of getting popular again, I guess in, what was that, 2020, the end of 2022.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I should watch some of this stuff. So I watched some of it and I was like, oh, this is cool, because I saw the potential of doing like a bigger concept, a larger scale concept with no resources at all. Because if you watch a lot of analog horror, 90% of it is like a weird, spooky slideshow. Right. And you're just kind of typing in these cool, creepy ideas. And you're kind of just reading a story, almost like a silent film or something like that. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I can add a little bit of cinematic element to that with my, what I do with my short films. Bring that into this format that people have created called analog horror. And kind of go with a concept that I had for a while with the Doors. I had that like spooky haunted door kind of concept in my back pocket for a long time. And I was like, oh, this is a cool way to do that. So yeah, then I made that pretty quick actually. And then put it out. And it happened to be right at the time that Skinamarink was kind of getting buzz. And it kind of had a lot of similarities. Accidentally, I hadn't seen Skinamarink. It had a lot of similarities with that movie, so it got a lot of comparisons to it. And that movie was like really blowing up on the internet, especially. So our short film Doors kind of started getting shared around.
That's
In
awesome, man.
comparison to that, and then yeah, so it kind of blew up, and super grateful for that. It was awesome.
You know, I loved it. I watched them, you know, and the thing, I don't want to talk about too much because I don't want to spoil it for people who may see it. But the thing about that, even when your earlier short films, you like that what is it? It's almost like this purgatory where people are trapped in like this thing they cannot escape. And that's
it's so cool you identified that. It's something I talk about a lot with Taylor.
You know, that's cool though. You know what I'm saying? I like that, you know, because that's one of my fears. You know, especially like in the afterlife, like, is that, you know, is that a thing? Is like, will I wake up in this thing that I'm just stuck in? And I gotta figure, it's something I gotta figure. You know, it's almost like a puzzle. You know, so that I like that, and I like how you do. And every time you tackled that subject matter, you did it differently. You never repeated yourself. But the Doors one was interesting. The door one, you know, saying like a lot, especially with the visuals, like out the door outside and stuff. I mean, you did a really good job of that, man. And to say you did it fast, because, you know, I would have thought both would have took longer than the other ones. But
so we shot them all separately. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is that kind of slideshow format, right? So that I did almost entirely myself, and then there's this couple of live sequences that I shot with Taylor that are kind of like found footage, like traditional found footage style, like Blair Witch and stuff.
Right.
Doors Part 2 kind of just becomes traditional found footage film with like those text sequences coming in throughout to kind of, you know, expand parts of the story that I couldn't afford to shoot.
Right.
Then Doors Part 3, I had a friend come on. My buddy Rob Barnes helped us produce that. And so we actually went out to a location in Smithfield, shot out on a friend's farm, a friend of his family's farm, in an abandoned house that they had on their property, which was so cool. And then out in the woods and stuff like that. So that took a lot longer. That one took, we actually shot it in 3 separate chunks. So the first part of that is shot actually in Cleveland, Ohio, in an Airbnb, just because like, yeah, my buddy who's an artist, goes to these conventions and sells his art. And Taylor and I like to travel with him and just go to different places and go to conventions and stuff. And then we were like, well, this Airbnb we're getting has a spooky basement. Could we shoot something there? And so we did. We just took advantage of that, shot it real quick. Then we shot a lot of it out in Smithfield. That was like 90% of it. And then back here at our house, we finished it up. So that was probably like 7 days of shooting, just all at different times, months apart from each other. That's all for Part 3. Yeah,
nice.
Thanks.
So with that, I'm kind of jump around these questions a little bit. So working with a restricted budget, working with a small crew, do you think that was an advantage? And did that help you evolve as a filmmaker?
Definitely, like 100%. So like I was saying, as we were making each of our short films, starting from The Conduit, it was kind of like each one, I would focus on one element of filmmaking to improve on. So after The Conduit, we made this really, really short one. We were like, we're going to scale it way back. It was called Attic. And I was like, I just want to basically improve on lighting. That was kind of the main thing. So we shot it in the attic of our old house, and it's kind of really simple. It's just like looking one direction and turning around and looking the other direction. So I was like, okay, I can handle that. Let me just make sure this looks really crispy and nice. Nothing's underexposed. A lot of it did get underexposed, but I learned a lot doing it. So that's kind of the main thing. When you're forced to do everything, you learn so much about each department, about lighting, about sound, especially. Basically the goal became like making them bigger and bigger each time, like I was saying. So with Lonely Night, that was like actually directing for the first time. That, like I was telling, you know, giving good direction to Taylor. She was really getting to perform. So I was able to adjust her performance and stuff like that. And then that expanded out in the Doors films a lot. So
that's smart, man. That's what, you know, I haven't shot as many short films, you know, but no, the ones I've shot, I've learned a lot too, you know. And the best for me, the best thing about a short film is you do have, if you learn your craft, right? You learn how to especially when you're working with other people. Okay, this is, you know the language, you know how to talk to your actor, you know what works, what doesn't work, you know what you need to spend more time on, how to, how to produce. That's the real best. You know what I'm saying? You produce on a smaller level, find locations, feeding people, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. How important that is, and like being organized. That's kind of the main thing I learned with
Right.
doors is like when we finally had people come in and help again, I was like, okay, the first day we shot on that, I was just like, oh, I'm used to just being Taylor and I. We have like our own, nonverbal language and stuff. But
Right.
like when there's other people here, you really gotta step up your organization. You gotta have shot lists and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
forward from now on, I'm gonna kind of get back to doing it the film school way and doing all those dumb things that they teach you in film school, where it's like make a shot list, storyboard, all that stuff. Even though it's like all in my head already, it's like,
Right.
well, I have something I can give to other people and be like, hey, this is what we're doing today. And then feeding people too, and like just staying positive, like being able to like not get frustrated with all the various things on set. That's another skill you learn too. That's just like crazy important.
Absolutely, dude. Because again, like I've worked on a lot of like independent stuff. Just helping out. I mean, everything from being a gaffer to trying to do boom. To being a PA. All kinds of stuff. But the cool thing about working on sets, and I tell people, I say, if you can't go to film school, work on sets. Work on sets or just do short films. Because if you work on a set, at least you'll know everybody's job. And then when you get ready to do your own thing, you'll know the language. You'll know how to communicate with the one department, because I understand why the grip and gaffer have to do this and what to expect of them. The same with actors, and it's just easier to get things going when you have an understanding of all the stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree, especially if you can work on different like scales of production.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like my usual work is working like as camera assistant, lighting, grip,
Awesome.
or PA and stuff. So you see these like big commercials or big TV shows and stuff like that. But then you go back and work on something with like 3 or 4 people, and you kind of figure out how you can apply some of the same techniques of those large scale productions at a smaller scale. But you also see, working on really tiny productions, how much is wasted on these big productions that you don't need. Like how much time is wasted, especially. There's a lot of just waiting around on set.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on a tiny production, you can't do that. You're just going. So
Exactly. Especially in time, man. You don't when you on the smaller stuff, you might only have like a few days to shoot that stuff, and that's it. So
yep.
you got to.
And if you're relying on favors from friends, you're like feeling that kind of too, because it's like you may not be able to pay people and stuff like that. So you're just kind of like trying to get people in and out and having getting them to have a good time, hopefully.
Yeah, man.
And hoping to repay the favor to them with their projects going on later on after and stuff
Exactly.
like that.
A lot of people I don't think a lot of people know, or people who want to make film, like, making films at the end is fun, but there's a lot of shit you got to do with these things, man.
Yeah.
You just don't, things happen, things you don't even think about. Like, we could talk about that later, but so things tend to pop up at the last minute. Oh shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But what else? Let me see. So we talked about that. Small crews. So going back to the analog thing, you talk about Skinamarink, which that was it wasn't bad. I mean, I liked his short. I don't know if you saw the short version. That was a heck. That one I thought was better, not because it was shorter. There were certain things in that one I wish you had to put in the full length feature. Especially there's this one scene, and you probably know what I'm talking about, when you see that thing peeking around the staircase.
Yeah.
In the shores.
Yeah.
I really wish that was in the main thing, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that sequence is so cool looking in the short, and like that's kind of what I was saying, where it's like I like horror movies that have a psychological aspect, but they make the horror aspect literal. So the ghosts are actually ghosts. The ghosts aren't, a metaphor.
Right.
And the feature gets a little bit into like, oh, is this all a metaphor?
Yeah,
for like child neglect or something like that, which is interesting, but I prefer if it's like, no, let's see the creature, let's see a ghost.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Let's
it
get
wasn't,
actually scared.
yeah, and it wasn't a bad. I mean, I like again for what it was. It was interesting. It was a tad bit long. It was a tad bit long for what it was. He could have trimmed about
The
20 minutes
fact that
off
it was
that.
over 90 minutes is pretty ballsy for a
Yeah, I
movie
mean,
like
it
that.
was like I'm cool with like lingering shots, but there was certain. I mean, it's it was too much. I mean, I would have cut that, just to get that
Yeah. Yeah. I've talked
out
to a
of it.
lot of people about it where it's like, man, I think it would have the same effect if it was 10 minutes shorter, maybe 20 minutes shorter. Like,
75 minutes. At them film
I
like been
understand.
75 minutes. It would
Yeah,
have
yeah,
worked.
for sure. I understand like why you need to linger on those shots to make
Right.
the things that actually happen a lot scarier. Because that moment in the bedroom, where the parent is sitting on the bed and
Right. Right.
he says, "Look under the bed."
Yeah, that was freaky.
That was terrifying. So I think all that buildup made it scarier, but the first 20 minutes is like,
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. I mean,
it's
I
rough.
mean, if I ever met the guy, say I like your work, but I think he could have trimmed it a little bit here and there.
But yeah, like, so maybe those first 20 minutes are important. Like that, this is the conversation I've had, and that's what I really like about that movie. It's like, wow, that's such a crazy swing, and obviously he nailed it. That's a huge success. That movie made it for
Yeah,
like
yeah. I mean,
nothing, and then it's everywhere. It's
yeah,
on Shutter now, and yeah.
right. 2022 is just a good year for horror in general. But with that, so did you ever see the article called "He's Watching"?
No.
So it's on Tubi, I believe. It's very similar to Skin and Ring in certain aspects, but it's totally different. But it is also kind of a found footage horror thing, art house. I'm surprised nobody talked about it because it's very. I think you would like it. I really think you would like it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's one of those instances where I think the timing worked against it, where it was like Skin and Ring got all that hype. If Skin and Ring hadn't existed, I think He's Watching probably would have been that thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, check it out though.
Yeah. I love Tubi.
Oh yeah. Tubi's a great place,
It's
man.
got so much stuff.
And I think I plan on in the future. I actually thought about doing more videos on Tubi, but I think that's the future for a lot of us independent horror makers because that's the place to go, man. Back in the day, it was like when we had blockbusters, they were cutting deals to get their independent films on there and stuff. But now I think Tubi is a good place for nothing else to get exposure, get your thing seen.
Yeah. So recently I watched a no budget feature called The Hopewell Haunting. And the reason I watched it, I was like, is this Hopewell, Virginia?
Virginia? Yeah, is it? I never heard this
It
one.
wasn't. I think it was a made up Hopewell. It was shot in Kentucky though, so it looked a lot like Central Virginia. But it was good. I mean, I just saw the title. That's all that got me to watch it. And the poster was pretty cool and retro looking. It's got a very authentic 1970s Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of film look to it.
Oh, nice.
So I don't think they shot it on 16 millimeter, but it's got that 16 millimeter look to it with the grain and everything,
cool.
Which I think not enough movies do, when they're doing that retro look. You need just do the fake film grain. It looks cool.
Yeah, I agree. So is that on Tubi?
It was on Tubi or Freevee, one of those.
Okay.
One of those,
cool,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And clearly zero budget, just like 2 locations, a handful of actors, and really cool, effective nighttime photography in this abandoned mansion with a ghost. And that was it. And it was cool.
Nice. I gotta check that one out. I'll hope I can Hopewell Haunting. But so the analog thing, I mean, because that found footage is kind of the same. You can kind of consider them similar, right?
Yeah.
That's really been big now. There's been, I mean, VHS franchise is a prime example of how that they just took it and made this whole thing. Late Night with the Devil, which is that when you see it, to me, that was definitely like a VHS segment. They said, you know what, let's make an entire movie out of it.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
It works pretty good. So I'm liking that. And I wonder, I guess my question is, why is that now? Why is that pretty much retro style working in the 20s, in the 21st century?
I guess it's because we have more millennial filmmakers actually getting stuff made. As far as, the internet version of it, the analog horror genre where I live, I mean, that's a great question. Like, I guess we're just looking back right now, and there's something creepy about found media from that era on VHS. There's just something
Right.
inherently weird about it.
I
The
agree.
scan lines and everything. For me, it's very nostalgic because I grew up with a VCR and
Yeah.
home videos on VHS, um, and yeah. I wish I had a better answer for why we're looking back at that era, but maybe we'll know in like 5 years, like what's with this nostalgia that's going on in
Yeah.
horror right now. But
Because I've been thinking about it, and what I see, it seems like there's like there's it's like the safety that you don't have with that stuff. Like, everything's so clean now. Like you see things like this little box, this big plastic box with a wood grain, with a little small little CRT screen in it. What's a little wood grain? You see this little pixelated image on it with weird stuff going on. It feels like you're not supposed to watch it. Like it's
yeah,
separation. That's the way I look at it.
no, that's definitely the appeal of it, and it could be a reaction to just 4K HD all the time, and like everything's too clean, too crispy now.
Right.
You watch movies made for Netflix, and they all kind of look the same. They're all
No
like
clean.
perfectly colorized, to the microscopic degree.
Exactly.
And yeah, people are craving something a little dirtier, a little gritty. Skinamarink, yeah, same thing. It's like, it looks so you're peering into darkness for half of it, and you're just looking at these creepy. We got a chat.
You're up. Yeah. Robert Barnes. Hello, Robert. He said it's also a new experience for younger generations that didn't grow with that style of media. That is true. That is very
That's
true.
a good point. Yeah, and the analog horror internet subgenre does tend to skew younger. Like my audience does skew probably Gen Z and younger. I guess Gen Alpha is what you would call them. So yeah, I think it is like this weird technology that a lot of people didn't experience too.
Yeah, that's true. And I really, it's funny, kind of getting off subject. I really, because of that, I'm feeling we're going to see a resurgence in the popularity of Videodrome. I really feel that's one of those movies that the younger kids are going to discover it, and it's going to work with them. Because that movie, if you watch it now, that movie works better and holds up better now. It's almost like it was ahead of its time from the 80s. Because everything that movie talks about, we kind of go through it now with the internet.
Oh yeah. The social commentary and our addiction to media and stuff is
Right. Yeah. So
more relevant than ever.
I could definitely see that coming back.
And as far as it just embracing this like this analog cable technology and stuff. Yeah. I love that movie so much.
Oh yeah,
is it the Church of the Cathode Ray or something like that that they go to?
Yeah. It's been a minute. Like what was it, Professor Oblivion and stuff, and the Flesh Gun and everything about it, like the pulsating VHS tape. Like I look, my fiance had never seen it. She's seen horror, but like a lot of that stuff she never saw, so I introduced her to it. And we said, like, how do you pitch this to a studio? Because Universal put that on. How do you go into the studio and say, look, I want to make a movie about this?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was the Wild West in films back then. I'm guessing that was just the power of Cronenberg after The Fly. I think that was after The Fly.
No,
right?
before. No, that's actually before.
It was?
Yeah, because The Fly was actually after that. Fly was like 86 or something.
Okay.
Like the Videodrome, I think that was the first. He did that after. It was either after Shivers, or after Rabbit, one of the two.
Oh wow! So it was even before Dead Zone.
Yeah, Dead Zone was like see, he does with him. He did a lot of films, and I kind of lose track of some of them.
Yeah,
but I know but he goes through these stages. But like I think Videodrome was the first of the true body horror, in my opinion. We did that, then we did The Fly and the Naked Lunch, which I still think Naked Lunch is probably one of the most underrated films he's ever done.
That movie's wild.
Yeah, it takes a few viewings. It took me a few times to watch that to really get what it was. But I'm not a big fan of newer stuff. Like after Spider, History of Violence was okay. A lot.
Yeah,
I don't like the melodramatic Cronenberg. But I know his new film, he kind of went back to the body horror. But I don't know.
I haven't seen it yet. My buddy saw it and he had to walk out of the theater. So
really,
like mid movie, and he's like a big Cronenberg fan. So
oh man,
I need to see it, but that makes me want to see it more.
Yeah, right. Exactly. His son's pretty good director too. I like his stuff.
Yes, I loved Infinity Pool, and Possessor was great too.
Yeah, some
But
people are.
Infinity Pool,
Yeah,
man,
Infinity Pool was a wild movie. You know, what I'm saying
yeah,
he's like or Cronenberg does like the manipulation of the flesh. I feel like his stuff's more the manipulation of the mind. You know,
yeah, for sure,
so
yeah, it's great, and it's pretty wild how he has followed in the aesthetic footsteps of his dad. That I feel like a lot of people kind of rebel against the
right.
uh, you know, preferences of their parents, but
Yeah,
he did not,
Cronenberg,
which is
man,
cool.
he's a genius, man. Like especially like again, his first like in the '80s and stuff, man. That guy was just on fire, man. You know, he was really just putting it out there.
He's one of
Um,
my absolute favorites. Yeah. And he also he creates these worlds that are fully unique to him. The Brood,
the
is
Brood.
it's just such a lovely movie to be in. Like the wood paneling of the sets and everything, and
Mhm.
those Canadian locations, just like deep in the trees, um, are just like really fun to just like live in. And that's something I think about a lot more with filmmaking these days. How important locations are, just
Yep.
to as an appeal for watching a movie. Just a cool dynamic cinematic location, and he's so good at that. And then the story is just so wild of that
Yeah, that's a
movie.
wild. Yeah, that
um
ended, man.
yeah
Mm.
yeah
See what else we could cover. All right, so on that topic, what is your favorite creature design, far as monsters go?
oh man, favorite design. So I mean, I love the xenomorph.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
I love um I love the design of Pumpkinhead more than I like that movie, but that
Yeah, he
design is
transcended. Yeah,
absolutely incredible. When you see him in the church, the bombed out church for the first time, you see him in all his glory. It's so good.
that was a striking image too in that church. Like that was very good set design, the lighting and everything. I really, I wish the movie was more of that scene, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
I agree. Yeah, that I mean I love that movie more and more every time I see it.
yeah,
But the first time I watched it, I was like, there wasn't that much of Pumpkinhead in it.
right. But the mythology was great. Like I love like the Southern Gothic horror stuff like that. It creates like
Yes.
this thing that was really a good
Yeah.
concept. You know.
hmm Yeah. Same kind of thing that I feel with the Brood, where it's like you just kind of want to be in that world, sort of I guess like Appalachian world.
Right.
Um, let me. I love the designs in general that Guillermo del Toro uses.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. He's unique.
yeah, I don't know if I can pick out one in particular, but I love the red ghost in Crimson Peak.
That was a
The,
beautiful that was a beautiful image. Like because I think
yeah,
he didn't he kind of use that Technicolor in that. Like he was going for that look, like that
yeah,
how
it's
that deep
very
red
Hammer
and
horror,
yeah, and it was beautiful.
very rich, saturated colors. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
I
I
love
wasn't.
that movie.
I mean, yeah. I was. I did. It was not my favorite Del Toro movie. Visually,
Sure.
it's there. You know, so I still say
Yeah,
Pan's Labyrinth is probably my favorite out of his entire.
another amazing creature design.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that thing, especially the thing with the eyes and the hands, stuff like that
yeah,
was just like, God damn it, like that was just
yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
Um,
That's a fantastic movie. He's one of my
yeah.
favorite filmmakers. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
for
he's
sure.
great. So did you like the what was it the one he won an Academy Award for?
The Shape of
The
Water.
Shape of Water. I just
Yeah,
called
I
something
love
else.
that movie. That's
That's
a
great.
delightful movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was definitely his love letter to Creature from the Black Lagoon.
hmm
You could,
hmm
and I loved everything about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that's a certain kind of filmmaker that I really like. Him and Tim Burton, I see like a shared DNA of like really relating to the monsters more than the human characters.
Right.
Um, so they're always a lot more sympathetic. Edward Scissorhands is kind of a similar thing to what Guillermo del Toro does, where he's the most sympathetic character in the movie.
I agree.
Yeah, same with Shape of Water. Yeah, which is cool. And I've not done that, but uh, I love the idea that you relate more to the monster.
I agree. And I think that's the problem Universal's had been struggling for years when they've been trying to reboot their Universal monsters. I think they forgot that. They're always just focused on them being the antagonists. It's like, no, they're not. They're not. They're neutral, man. It's not about that, especially Frankenstein. That's
Yes.
they have yet to make a good Frankenstein movie since the original, in my opinion. I've yet to see one.
Yeah, and that original is so good, especially like the first half. It's just
that's a masterpiece, man. Everything about it. Before we move on, there is one movie. Since you're a big fan of like set pieces and everything, did you ever see the movie Night of the Hunter?
I haven't. That's been on my list for a long time. Talking about Southern Gothic, that's one I need to see.
highly recommend you watch that as soon as you can. It's it's dated, but when you see it, the visuals in that movie are just like, like you can see like where a lot of modern cinema has gotten their inspiration from. I'll even go as far to say, oh my God, what's the movie with Daniel Day-Lewis in it, where he was the preacher in the oil rig?
There'll Be Blood.
There'll Be Blood drew heavily from that movie.
Oh, okay,
yeah. So when you see it, you'll see. Oh, I get this now. But
sure,
I like Anderson. I like all his stuff. So
yeah,
but
everyone has influences. But that's one I know I've had on my list for a long time. And recently, my girlfriend Taylor and I have been watching a lot of Southern Gothic crime films, and that's one that I've been waiting for it to be just like free on streaming, but I need to just rent it.
Did you see Killer Joe?
I haven't. That's Friedkin.
That's Freaking. Yeah, that's another one you need to watch. You'll probably want you fried chicken for a while when you see it.
But, I've heard it's tough. It's kind of tough to watch.
The ending, like it's pretty much it's a crime movie through and throughout. It's a drama, but that last 15 minutes, man, it's like it's like Audition. If you ever seen Audition, but it's just like it's just when you see it, you'll see what I'm saying. But it's a great movie. Definitely, if you like Southern Gothic crime movies, I would consider that's one you need to watch too. Let me see what else we talk about. So we talked about your favorite creature. What about your favorite special effect?
Wow, I wish I had really processed that question. Probably The Thing, the chest.
Oh yeah, clear.
Yeah, probably that. I mean, that movie in general is like Rob Bottin is a magician, like an actual magician.
He's brilliant. Because I'm glad you brought it up, because when I had my last guest on, Doug, we were talking about it, and I said that the thing about The Thing that works so well, and this kind of goes in special effects. You've done some special effect work in your films, right?
Trying to do more.
Yeah. And like the biggest trick to special effects is having it made for the camera. A lot of people don't understand it. They'll see it with the naked eye. Oh, look like crap. No, don't look at it through the lens. Look at it through the framing and the lighting and stuff. That in the edit, you got to think about all this shit. The sound. We put all that together. That's what you're gonna get, not this raw little silly looking thing. But anyway, the one thing that I always go back to that's amazing is the blood test scene. And like, all right, when the guy's exposed to the thing, he starts changing, right? Go back and watch that scene. There's several cuts. Like every time they cut back to it, he's in real time. He's went through like 5 different transformations. But when you see it, he's already at that. Like he goes from being this guy convulsion to being totally melted face. Which in reality it would take a process. But your brain with the cutting and stuff, your brain fills that in, so you never think about that. He does that like 3 times. By the time the monster rises up, and that's brilliant. Saying, shit, that's how I see it now as a filmmaker, but I never thought of it like that before.
Yeah, and it's like each little second of transformation is a whole new special effects setup. It's a whole new creation, literal like physical thing that they have to bring in, relight it in the same way to make it look like the last little bit of the transformation.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah, because that's why I love effects so much. Yeah, but the thing is a good one. I mean, just looking at it now, like from the stuff I worked on, I was like, I kind of know how they did that. That was probably a pain in the ass. That was a day right there. Just shooting. I'm thinking of all the stuff, but it's all tricks because special effects are logistics. It's always logistics, and if you just understand that, you can make stuff work. And it's even if you like shoot you could shoot a minute of sequence and like it could be like 60, like 40 seconds as trash, but 20 seconds all you need to get that to get what you need. So
yep, from that one angle that it works from, you have like one purpose for that one
right,
little
yeah,
effect. So you're only going to shoot it from one direction. Like you're saying, like with the chest thing, it's the actor under a table with his head sticking through with a
exactly.
fake neck, and you look at it from the side and it's like way off. But they only needed that one top view, so it's only going to work from that one angle, which is it's
Exactly.
amazing. Like it is like actual magic, that stuff.
Yeah,
And
man. I mean,
that's something I want to do more going forward, is actual physical effects, creature effects, and special effects makeup as well. I
oh
hate
yeah,
doing digital effects so much.
yeah.
It takes
Digital,
way too long and it's
digital.
frustrating. I hate computers. So
Yeah, I've yet to try digital effects. I don't. I mean, I'm just doing all practical. I mean, there's a time and place for it. I mean, I've always felt like, okay, if you're gonna do like a space opera, obviously you need some digital effects in it. But anything just like a monster guy in a suit, I personally feel that will always hold up better than any
yes.
CG. I mean, even like if you look, I'm telling the other guy that the Marvel stuff, Endgame is not even like 5 years old, right? And that in battle sequence, it's rough. I've watched it a few times. Like, it's like it's a big cartoon, man. Like,
Yeah, I always tune out during those sequences in movies like that. And, I don't want to just like shit all over anything, but
no,
when I watch a movie like even Guardians of the Galaxy, which I really love, I think it's a great superhero movie, which is not my favorite genre, but that's a great
yeah,
example of it. When it's the last sequence, the last battle sequence at the end, I'm just like falling asleep. Like that's more boring to me than anything, because you're just staring at ones and
yeah. I
zeros
mean,
kind of.
it's soulless. Like that's the
Yeah,
problem with like, and I think Hollywood these last. I mean, within like the last 10 years, that's all these things have been like these big CG battle sequences and. It's not about that. Even if you go back
yeah,
and watch the original Star Wars, that was epic, but that still was practical and set
yes,
pieces. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? There's a difference between that
Yeah.
and what they do
Yeah.
now.
It's similar to what I'm talking about with locations, where it's like you can live in the world of practical effects in a way that you can't with digital effects. You can really like
Right.
let your imagination jump off from those things. Um, yeah.
I
It's
agree.
similar to like going to Disneyland or something, you're just in this like creation. Somebody
For
like
now.
put this together.
Thank you for now.
Hey, thanks.
uh, but yeah, but last thing about that, which is funny, because you know how like Disney for the show they're using that I forgot what it's like, this huge big like flat LCD
The
screen.
Void.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they pretty much that's how they shoot all the stuff on. There is no set or anything. What's
Yeah.
funny about it, I've watched a lot of Disney Plus shows. I've watched all of them, but
Mhm.
The Mandalorian FC show, the Falcon Winter Soldier show, and that Echo show that just came out, they all three have like a train-esque sequence where they're fighting on a train. You can tell
Mm.
it's the
Mhm.
same damn thing. They just re-rendered it in each one. I mean, I was like,
Yeah,
oh man,
they reskinned the same
yeah, man. It's like,
assets.
oh, come
Yeah.
on, guys. Like, I'm saying, because
Okay.
they all had this damn like train, like, it's just like, I don't know. They're
Yeah,
recycling
and
stuff,
it's
dude.
there's like a lot of studios in the 80s and and mostly in the 80s but early 90s as well, like Full Moon Empire and like Coralco and stuff, like these smaller studios
Yeah, Vestron
that
and all
would
those. Yeah.
they would reuse elements like that, but they're actual physical sets. So it's kind of different. Like you watch all the Charles Band productions and they're all filmed in the same Italian castle for
Right.
like
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
years or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's something charming about that because it's frugal, but it doesn't feel as cynical as just like reusing the same ones and zeros.
Oh yeah.
It's
I
just a
mean,
different feeling. I get why people do it, but it doesn't feel the same.
yeah. I mean, but the thing about when Roger Corman does it, I get it because Roger Corman is a
Yeah,
very smart guy when it comes to like use stuff. But when Disney has all the money in the world where they can make anything,
good point.
you
Yeah.
at least think, I mean, it's got to be like a half and half, some practical, some digital. But it
Yeah.
has to be for an actor. It has to be dreadful to act with nothing.
Yeah, I think there's this quote. I don't remember if it was Christopher Lee or Ian McKellen on, I guess, The Hobbit, and he was just on a green screen, and he just like lost his mind one day, and he was like, "This is
Yeah.
not what I signed up for."
Oh, poor
You know,
guy.
just surrounded by blue screen and stuff. And
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
I get it.
Crazy. Well, that's so. The next thing we're gonna go back to the first thing about what you've been working on is what's next. At this point, you've been you're very skilled and seasoned now, and you know how to make a film, and you've done very successful short films. So, are you in early stages, or do you plan on doing a feature?
I, of course, really want to do a feature. It's something I think about all the time. It's something I'm scared of doing because it's a lot of work.
Right.
So I'm probably getting in my own way with it, of just being like, I need the perfect idea. So I'm kind of waiting for that perfect idea. Basically, I would want to do something, feasible on micro budget and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely in the cards, but it's not going to be the next thing. It may not even be the next thing after the next thing.
Right.
So we made our series Doors, which actually really got us like really thinking about making a feature, because it's 3 parts.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 35 to 40 minutes long altogether. We're going to film extra footage, extra elements for that pretty soon, because I want to enter it in a couple film festivals as a feature. So it has to get over a certain length.
Right.
And I have some ideas of what I could do to make it a longer experience. They would have it wouldn't be a full part 4 or anything. It would be like kind of wraparound segments, and then maybe like a 0.5 at the end. So like 3 parts and a half.
Yeah. Okay.
At the end. So that's one of the next things. But I also have been writing a lot. And after Doors, my brain was kind of scrambled, because I was only thinking about that one story for a whole year, pretty much. So I couldn't really, it wasn't really writer's block, but I couldn't really settle on a good idea of what to do next for the YouTube channel. So I started writing audio dramas, which is something I listen to a lot, like horror audio dramas.
Okay, cool.
There's a few different cool shows out there in podcast form. And during my day job, I drive a lot, not the production stuff, but when I'm just having to work hours, I drive a lot. So I listen to a lot of that stuff. And I was like, I'm going to write some of these. And it kind of freed me up, because like with analog horror, you're able to kind of write in these larger scale ideas into something that you can do for no money at all. Mm-hmm. Audio drama, you can write anything.
Correct.
And so that kind of freed me up, and I kind of came to an idea through that. So I just wrote a couple of things that I could never shoot, because they're just too, it was like a road trip in one. There's like a never ending house in another one. I could never do that. But I came to an idea where it's like, oh, I could shoot this. So I'm writing it as an audio drama now, but I'll probably convert that into a short film script and do that next. And it'll be more of a traditional film style. Again, it won't be found footage or analog horror.
Nice.
So that's cool. Next.
Oh, so I meant to ask you, what camera do you shoot on?
I have a Blackmagic 2.5K full camera. It's not the Pocket. It's an older one.
All right, cool. Yeah, we're shooting on 2. We're shooting on a Blackmagic Ursa, and we're shooting on the Pocket Blackmagic 6K.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll probably get the Pocket here before too long.
The Pocket's cool.
The old one is it's these huge cards and stuff.
I know.
Shooting in 2.5 on it, 2.5K is just like not really worth it. So I've mostly been shooting in HD anyway, and then just up-resing.
You see that new one? The 12, was it the 12K that came out? That's coming out like
through Blackmagic.
Yeah, it's like it's like $5,000. Is it their
Ursa series as well?
No, this is the Pocket one. No, so they got
okay.
There's a mini Ursa that I was looking at. That's but that's 4K. But they got the 6K one. But but I said, what the hell are you gonna shoot in 12? I mean, what is that? Like,
Yeah, you don't need that for YouTube. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but but what's crazy though is because we were looking at the specs for certain streaming platforms, the Blackmagic like not even the 6K is Netflix certified. The other one is coming out is, but it's weird. Like, why? I mean, it's like, but the other cameras that the R have the same specs, so I don't understand. We don't get why that is. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah. That's all stuff that you definitely need to look into for a feature. But for YouTube, yeah, like shooting in 4K, I think like in the future, I'll only do sequences that way, like certain sequences for effects, so that I can have the most amount of pixels to like scrub
Right.
in and do some digital effects that I might need to do. Otherwise, I think 1080 looks pretty good. So I tend to just do it that way, and you don't have to deal with the headache of like all the footage you have to wrangle later. So
True.
Yeah, I like to simplify everything. I still cut on Final Cut because that's what I learned.
Yeah.
And everyone jumped ship on Final Cut 10, but I still love Final Cut. They kind of added back in everything that people got mad about them taking out. So it's
Final
Cut.
Great. Yeah. So my fiance, she does the edit. So she does it on Premiere, and she says when she's in my DP, he uses DaVinci. DaVinci's not bad. Have you ever used that one?
I have a little bit, and my producing partner Rob uses DaVinci. So.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's a little weird until you kind of you see how the layout of it. It takes a little bit you get used to. It's not bad.
It's different. Yeah, they have the node based color and stuff. Which I learned it and then immediately forgot because I didn't keep using it. So
that's the way it is, man. Stuff's changing constantly.
I like the idea of shooting and lighting it on the day, and you're kind of stuck with that though. So the node based stuff is cool, but you can that's kind of, I think, where the Netflix look of like everything looking too perfect comes from. So I like the idea of coloring it a older fashioned way.
Here we go. Got from Robert DaVinci's.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. You know what I'm saying? I just got to use it more. But right now, I said, like on my fiance's side, because she's editing our stuff, she's just using Premiere. My DP gets her the proxies and shit to do.
Yeah, Premiere's great. Yeah, I learned a bit of that too, and it was very similar to Final Cut 7. So a lot of people went that direction. Nice. And I use After Effects too, so I probably should use Premiere, but I'm stuck in Final Cut land. It's good enough for me.
Hey, I mean, you're making some good stuff using it. I think that's about everything I had on this. Oh, the last thing is, all right, good. So if you do pursue the feature thing, since you do, you got a pretty good following on your YouTube channel, to the point where, have you considered maybe doing a crowdfunding to help get some funding to make a feature?
I have. It would be different now. I did do crowdfunding for my very first short. And it was tough. It took a long time to accumulate kind of a small amount of money just to get supplies, basically, to shoot, like actual hardware supplies. Now that we have sort of a following, it would be interesting to try something like that again. It's not what I would go to first. I would rather raise money in different ways.
Right.
A few ways that I'm working on, like merchandise and stuff like that.
Not smart.
But I think if you have modest goals for it, it's probably a decent way to do things. So it's something I've definitely thought about, but and no immediate plans.
And I guess it would also depend on the nature of what you're making too. How much money you would need in just working. If it's one location and you already got the cameras and stuff, then it's at that point, it's up. What would the money be really going to? And that kind of thing.
Right. And if I'm making a feature, I'm going to want to hire actual people that I have to pay. Yeah. So that
supervisor, that's the mistake I made. Get a scripty because, good God, I didn't think I need. I mean, we made it work because but like, Jesus, man, there's someday I wish I had a scripty. I really did. Make things easier.
Yeah. It's tough because when you don't have one, you're kind of like relying on everyone there to like remember like where certain things are in the frame and things like that.
We managed, but I would not recommend it. That's the biggest thing. That and somebody do slate. That's another.
Yeah. Pulling focus and stuff too is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My DP.
I do like operating the camera though, so I think it'd be cool to have a camera up, but I don't know if I could let go of that control at this point.
Right.
So
it's
we'll
tough.
see. Yeah,
Yeah. If you're
same with
directing,
DP
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I like framing everything up.
Oh no, I'm with you on that. Yeah. Do you do your own storyboards?
I usually don't storyboard.
Okay.
I usually, because we're shooting in, for the most part, our house.
Right.
So far, I haven't done it. Going forward, I will though. That's one of the things I learned on part 3 of Doors. Is like, man, I really should have prepared a little bit more.
They could usually
you get out there in a location and you're kind of like, okay, it's all in my head, and
right.
you're kind of freaking out because it's like, well, there's, we're shooting at night, so there's a timing thing. We had a generator out there, so there was like fuel and stuff like that. There's all these other logistic things you have to think about. It just helps to have everything written down.
Oh yeah, that's the way we do it. Usually, once the script is where it needs to be at, I'll sit down with my DP and we'll do a shot list. We'll bring it in on a shot list, and based off of that, I'll usually do the storyboards, because him and I usually got the same brain, so we know visually where it's at. But certain things, that I know needs to be a certain way, it's kind of almost impossible to verbally communicate. I'll do like a little rough layout, sketches. Oh, okay, you want it like that? Got it. So it's worked out. I do recommend, even if there's no more stick figures, what I'm saying, that it helps.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, definitely. And then a lot of times you get to the location and you're like, oh, the shot I wrote out doesn't work at all.
That's another thing.
But at least you have that to start with, so you know what everyone knows what you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's all I got. So I put the link in the description of where people can find. I didn't put your IG one. I just put your YouTube one, because that's pretty much where cool. all your stuff is at.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to tell us when they can expect another short? 'Cause I know you say you're working on some stuff. Like, do you know when you might be dropping the next one?
No, I don't. I really don't. It's been kind of a cool down period after Doors Part 3, and I just recommend everyone, if you want to watch our stuff, check out that series, because we put so much work into it. It was basically a whole year of work, and it's still like lively. Like, you go in the comments and there's people still discovering it all the time. So it still feels like that's partly what I'm working on is kind of promoting that. That's kind of been the main thing. As far as what's coming next, like I said, I'm writing these audio dramas. One of those is going to turn into the next short, which won't take long to shoot. So probably in the next couple of months, I'll have something.
Awesome. Yeah.
Just go straight to YouTube.
Cool. Yeah. And I'm supporting him, and like, his stuff is really good. I really enjoy watching his shorts. Every last one of them are very well done and entertaining. And I especially like the Door series is really unique, and if you guys like, oh, no problem, man. I love supporting good stuff. But, with all the like boring regurgitated crap coming out now, the independent guys need more of a chance, because there really is some unique visions and stories and voices to be heard and seen out there. So Drew's stuff is definitely one of them. So again, the link to his YouTube channel is down there. I highly recommend checking it out. Like, subscribe. That really helps them out a lot with engagement and getting eyes on them. So I think that's about it. Thank you so much, man, for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Christopher. And right back at you with your short. I loved the sync, the brain drain one.
Yeah, that was
fun. I shared that with a lot of people and in our Discord and stuff. And man, I've watched it a few times and I've just like shown it to people. I'm like, yo, you got to check this out. Cause like when I saw that, I got so excited. Cause like we were saying, Richmond needs to step it up as far as independent productions go. And I was so excited that you did that and that you're working on that feature.
I appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Yeah. It's great.
We got more to come. But all right, guys, it's Sunday. I know people got things to do, want to rest up they have a probably work week ahead of them. So we'll do this next time. And Drew, you can come by anytime, man. It was a pleasure talking with you on here.
Hey, thank you. You too.
All right, guys.